Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. I was reading something, I think it was yesterday. It was either yesterday or this morning, and it sparked, it kind of got my wheels turning, and so I'm not scheduled to do a live, but I just wanted to jump on and share this, just a short little tidbit. So hello to those of you who are joining. Please, I want this is going to be pretty short and sweet, but still feel free to bring your questions, comments, etc. To the conversation. So, there's this common saying, if you will, something to the effect of, it's usually used in the business sense or like in the kind of personal growth world, in the business personal growth world, if you will. It's something like, you are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Something like that. And there's a woman whose work I admire, who I'm blanking on her name in this moment because, of course. Totally blanking. But she does a whole process around the Wild Soul movement and Untame Yourself, and I'll link to her in the comments so that you can actually see who that is. But so she had a short little piece that I just saw briefly around basically why that saying is bullshit. And I actually agree with a lot of what she said. And she was basically saying like, hey, I remember when I first heard this and I was new to the industry and I was surrounding myself with the best and the most successful, and I was still struggling. So, what the fuck? And it got my wheels turning on seeing both what she was pointing to about how sometimes we take on these these teachings or these sayings as though they're true without checking them out. But the other thing, I get distracted by all the hearts. That's what's happening. I'm laughing because I get distracted by all the hearts. But the other thing that I saw was, what if we're, rather than like it's true or it's not true, right? Like, well, that's true, so I have to surround myself with the best of the best, or that's just bullshit and, and fuck that noise, kind of. What if we change our perspective around it and look at like, what does that mean? And there were 2 pieces that really came to me. And I'm kind of going to go at them backwards a little bit. I actually think the second piece in some ways is more important, but I want to speak to the first piece first. It's kind of more at the surface level, which is, at least, this was a short post, so I'm certainly, and I think this is true for a lot of people I talk to, so I don't really want to point to her in particular about this. It was just her words got me thinking. But I hear a lot of people say this, and not specifically what she was saying, but I hear a lot of people say this piece about like, but I am surrounding myself with the best of the best, so why am I not succeeding? And what that got me thinking about was more in the realm of like, who are these people to you? So if there's some truth to the saying, you are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with, or however it goes, then what if we looked deeper than that? Rather than, somehow if they're so successful, that means you're going to be successful, or if they're really good in the industry you're in, that's going to just magically rub off on you. What if we go like, first of all, maybe they make a lot of money, but are they miserable? And then going like, maybe I'll make more money, but maybe I'll also become more miserable. Or am I having to, maybe even more importantly, is like, am I having to fake something to fit in with them? Am I faking something inside myself? And so there becomes this truth of that, like, you do become in some way the sum of, or there is an impact of who are the people you spend the most time with, whether that's in person or virtually. But it's like, what is it calling forth in you? Is it calling forth your deepest, truest, most authentic self, or is it calling forth something in you that's actually not true, that you're having to like fake to be with them? Is there something that you like about what they have, or what it seems like they have, but underneath, right, are they faking it? I mean, I've definitely spent time with people who, if you only knew them on Facebook, you would think they were rich and successful and living the life they wanted, of their dreams. And then if you knew them behind the scenes, you'd be like, oh, it's not quite like that. And we all know that if we actually bring it forth consciously, but most of us still see the veneer and then go like, oh, I want that, or that's true. Are they angry? You know, are they actually successful in the ways they seem to be, but are they, you know, working nonstop? Are they miserable? Are they truly free in the way that you want to be free? So again, it becomes more this sense of like, who do I want to surround myself with who's actually free in the way I want to be free? So that becomes very personal. And I would connect back both to the like, I'll have what I'm having conversation that I had, or the come home to go big conversation that I had, where again, it comes down to like, what do I truly want? And of course, like me personally, I mean, would I like to make more money? Sure. But I am more committed to a certain kind of spaciousness in my life. So I would rather surround myself with people who actually, there's some resonance in that, or there's something in that field that inspires me about them. I don't actually want to surround myself with people who just make a lot more money than me, because that's not fundamentally what I want. To me, that doesn't feel free. And then also this piece about like, are they living your deepest values more truly than you? And I would use that more as this marker about like, okay, who do I want to surround myself with? Like, I want to surround myself with people who are fundamentally living my deepest values even more fully than I am. Like that's what will pull me forward. And then again, so I said it was kind of going to go flip-flop, because the second piece of this that I got when that started going on in my mind was like, wait, this is still all about like, what am I going to get from the 5 people that I spend the most time with? But it's still all about like me. And we used to say something in Authentic World when I was first starting with my ex-husband. I remember, I mean, I actually don't know quite where this came from, but I remember one of the things we talked about a lot was a relationship is a horrible place to get something. And often we were talking about romantic relationship and looking at like, we were mostly working in a fairly heteronormative circumstance. So it was like for men with their relationship with women, or women with men, this idea we often go in going like, what can I get here? What are you going to give me? But I think it's true for our relationships in general. And even when I thought about this saying, and like, if there's some truth there, and if I was just going to shift the perspective on it, going to more like, what is it that I have to offer those 5 people? What's going to, like, rather than how do I surround myself with the 5 best people so that I can get better? How do I bring something even more better that I would then be offering to them? How do I become one of the top people for somebody else? Or even not become it, but like the people who are already in my life, what do I give them? Who am I to them? And maybe it's a certain kind of success in my field. And maybe it's some knowledge about how to succeed in theirs. And maybe it's all kinds of things, but like maybe also it actually, again, comes down to this place of like, how deeply can I live my truest values and keep doing whatever I have to do in terms of seeking out other people who will take me farther, or training with teachers who will expand me, but what is it that I have to do so that I'm living my deepest values so fully that everyone around me, the people who spend the most time around me, they all get lifted up, rather than looking at this as something where we're trying to get something from the people that we spend the most time around. That's what I got for you today. I hope that it was valuable in some way. For those of you who are either live or watching the replay, like, I'd love to just see your comments, especially, I mean, the things that I love the most are places where you either see, this is how this applies to my life, or this is how I can apply this to my life. This is how I will apply this to my life. Or something that seems off. If you're listening and you're like, well, I don't know about that, or how would this, you have a question or a something like that, I would love to see that, and I'll come back later, check in, and be happy to be in the conversation with you. Thanks so much. Ciao.